food service training on CACFP supper. My name is Kaylee Smith and I'm with School Food Solutions. School Food Solutions is a team of consultants that help stay compliant on the National School Lunch Program. A couple other members of the team that support are Tess Bradford and Allie Barker. On today's agenda, we will cover the purpose of this training, meal count requirements, reimbursable meals at supper, and civil rights training. So the purpose of today's training, why do teachers need supper training? The USDA requires that anyone who touches the food service program receive annual training. Teachers run the point of sale when meals are served in the classroom. This means ensuring all students take a reimbursable meal. And this also means ensuring that all meals are counted at the time they are served to students. For supper meal counting procedures, rosters are required. Rosters are a very important part of our supper program. Our meal program provides all students with nutritious meals during their day. Hunger hurts learning, so this is a very important fact of our food service program. Meal rosters are counted and consolidated daily, and this is the information that is used to claim meal reimbursements from USDA. Each meal roster is worth money. The USDA and LDOE both audit our food service programs periodically. Findings can result in a loss of funds, so the things we are about to cover during this training are very important parts of our reimbursement process. Instructions will be provided with your meal rosters. Use this to ensure that record keeping is correct every day. If you are planning to be out, leave the roster instructions in your room for any subs who may be filling in. And review the example roster. Make sure yours is filled out the same way. We want to thank teachers for your help with the following things. Announcing and arranging the items so they're easy for students to take. Ensuring all students take a meal and a milk. Filling out rosters daily during meal service. Mark each student with an X if they took a full meal. A full meal does include a milk. If a student is absent or did not take a meal that day, leave that space blank. Thank you also for putting leftover meals back into your cooler bag and for sending your cooler bag and your roster back to the cafeteria each day after service. Here's an example of a weekly roster and what it should be looking like when it's completed. As students take a meal, mark them off with an X. Only mark off students who take a meal. Leave everyone else blank. Once all the meals have been passed out, count your X's and write the total number at the bottom, and then initial by the total, indicating that you have completed the roster for that day. Here's a close-up of the bottom. At the end of the list of students, you should have the total number of X's for that day and your initials. Please remember, rosters are a required part of the program and are directly tied to our reimbursement money. Your individual roster is worth money. Our meal program provides all students with nutritious, free meals during their school day. Hunger hurts learning. Meals in the Classroom programs help participation, which means more students are fed and more reimbursement money is coming into our food service program. Roster best practices include marking off students that have taken a meal, totaling the number of meals served at the bottom of your roster, and please do ask clarifying questions of your Chartwheels lead or school operations manager if you're unsure what to do. Please do not put A for absent or any other type of mark next to students who do not take a meal. Do not check off every single student on your roster without observing all students with a meal. Do not mark a student as eating if they did not take a full meal. And do not give this job of completing rosters to a student. This must be done by a teacher. Next, we'll look at what makes a reimbursable supper so that you can ensure that every meal that is passed out and marked off on your roster in your classroom is fully reimbursable. A reimbursable supper will include 5 components or food groups. All 5 components must be offered and served to students for supper. The 5 components or food groups at supper will include fruit, vegetables, meat or a meat alternate, grains, and fluid milk. At supper, what should we see? We should see 5 full meal components offered to each student. Most often, Chartwells will pack supper in a bag that contains most of the components. Milk and potentially fruit or other cold components may be served on the side outside of the bag. You must ensure that students take all components of the meal, including a milk. Again, these 5 components include fruit, vegetable, meat alternate, grains, and fluid milk. Please ensure that students are taking all components of the meal that's being offered. Next, we will cover civil rights in school nutrition. This training topic is a required topic that all food service staff or anyone who has any role in the food service program must complete each year. Civil rights is an annual training topic that everyone must complete. Civil rights training ensures compliance with and enforcement of the prohibition against discrimination in all nutrition programs. The purpose is to inform, educate, and support all staff who interact with the meal programs. SFAs are responsible for annually training their staff, and training must be documented. This is the list of USDA's protected classes in the child nutrition programs. This list currently includes race, color, national origin, age, sex, including gender identity and sexual orientation, and disability. There are several civil rights requirements that SFAs or school food authorities, the school, must ensure are happening in their meal service programs. We will list them here and then talk about each in a little more detail. The first requirement is to provide public notification of meal program participation. Second, provide reasonable accommodations for participants with limited English proficiency or disabilities. Third, handle civil rights complaints according to prescribed procedures. Conduct annual civil rights training. And lastly, conduct compliance reviews as applicable. The first requirement is public notification. School food authorities or schools are required to inform potentially eligible persons, so in our case, all students, that we participate in child nutrition programs. What this looks like for our purposes is ensuring that all families and students know that meals are provided for no charge at school every day. One of the required methods of publication is the Green and Justice for All poster. This should be displayed in all school cafeterias or some other central location in the school where students will see it throughout their school day. All information related to food service programs must also be on school materials, such as the website, in letters sent home to families, or in the family handbook. This is the USDA non-discrimination statement. This statement is included on the Green and Justice for All poster, and it must also be included on any other communications that go home to families that talk about the child nutrition programs. Our next requirement is around providing accommodations, which include help with language assistance. The child nutrition program and civil rights requirements require us to provide program materials such as menus or letters about the program in languages other than English as required. Language assistance also can look like providing a translator on site, translating materials sent home into other language, or having some sort of other line of communication for families to access. Another requirement for accommodations has to do with students with disabilities. We are required to make meal accommodations or menu adjustments for students who have a disability or an allergy that is documented. We also must ensure that all facilities where meal programs are operating provide access for all students. Meal modifications as a result of a disability or allergy must be documented in writing, provided to the school by a student's registered dietitian or physician. This documentation must include information about the specific foods that the student cannot have, and then also provide specific foods that should be substituted in place of those foods that are to be omitted. Schools must also have a process for collecting complaints in the child nutrition program as it relates to civil rights. There is a USDA discrimination complaint form that's been made available to all cafeterias, and cafeteria staff are instructed to make this form available for anyone who may wish to file a civil rights complaint. If the USDA discrimination complaint form is used, all of the correct information should be captured on that form template. Schools are required to have a process and a person identified within the organization who handles civil rights coordination. This includes making sure all complaints are handled as they should be and that all food service staff are provided with training each year. Overall, in the food service programs, when it comes to civil rights, we want to keep in mind customer service. The main goal is to ensure that all students have access to the meal programs and that they have equal access to these programs. Examples of noncompliance in the food service program may be some of the following. Requiring male and female students to use separate lines or eat in separate areas of the cafeteria. Serving fifth graders a smaller portion size than fourth graders who passed through the line right before them. Or selecting school meal program sites or facilities in a manner that denies an individual access to the school meal program's benefits. Example, serving breakfast at some schools, but not at all schools located in areas with a high proportion of children with disabilities or high proportion of minority students. In order to reduce the risk of a civil rights discrimination complaint, ask yourself the following questions each time a participant comes to your program for services. Am I treating this person in the same manner I treat others? Have I informed this person exactly what information I need to make a determination on their application? Have I given this person the opportunity to ask questions? And have I provided this person with the information he or she needs to make necessary decisions? If we're ensuring that all students have access to the free meals provided to them at school, then we can ensure that all students have equal access to our program. That concludes our CACFP supper training. If you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out to our team. Again, my name is Kaylee. Other members of the School Food Solutions team include Allie and Tess, and you could reach out to any of us at any time. Thank you for listening to this training.